Uh,
Awesome.
so welcome on in, Hilltime sports fans. We have a kind of familiar face on the internet. Pretty big in the Philadelphia Eagles realm of things. We have Josh Davis of the Philly Special in here. I am so grateful to have him in here. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. I appreciate you having me.
Yeah.
It's always
No.
a good time to talk birds. So no, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. So having said that, like we're both kind of in enemy territory here. Like I know you live on in the central part of the United States. I live on the West Coast. So how did how did you become an Eagles fan?
Yeah, it's kind of crazy story, but being in Dallas, born and raised, not I guess not as many people have the story there. There's lots of Eagles fans in Dallas that I run into all the time, but it feels like there's maybe more so that are like transplants or used to be in Philly and work related or whatever the case may be. But I don't meet too many that like grew up in Dallas. But most of my family were Cowboys fans, and so growing up, I heard from my dad and grandpa that they're like the Cowboys are this great team, and I'm 33, and so I never really witnessed that, and certainly don't remember anything of that. So by the time that I was like kind of getting into the NFL, I'd have been like 6 years old or so, something like that. But my first really vivid memory is the pickle juice game, and the Eagles, just destroyed the Cowboys there. And so I was kind of like, I don't know why I need to be a Cowboys fan. Like I could be a fan of a good team. And so you're young, you're impressionable. And so I mean, yeah, maybe it was kind of a bandwagon thing, but I was like, I'm gonna be an Eagles fan. And so I started playing Madden all the time, want to be a good team there too. And so it just grew from that. And I'm like, all right, now I'm an Eagles fan. So even once you start struggling and having some down years, it's like, well, they're my team. So yeah, just stuck with it. And the family, some family members maybe didn't care for it as much, but I saw the light.
So I kind of have the similar story. I actually grew up a Rams fan. My dad is a Rams fan, and my mom's a Dolphins fan. So is my other brother. One of my
Hmm.
brothers is a Titans fan. Sister's a Falcons fan. Stepdad's a Bengals fan. And so we're all over the place. But I grew up a Rams fan. I witnessed the greatest show on turf, and I kind of like being the kind of nitpicker. So like I was like,
Hmm.
I really want to go and find a team like that will make people mad. And around the same time, McNabb's around. I think the first game I remember was the 2002 NFC Championship with the Buccaneers and the Eagles. Lost
Hmm.
that one. And I was like, I really like McNabb. It wasn't a good game by any means, but it's kind of how it happened. And like, it's just stuck ever since then through the bad times, through Chip Kelly and all of that. But
Hmm.
yeah, it's been a wild ride. Um, Also, first Super Bowl or second Super Bowl? Which one means more to you?
Probably the first one. I mean, very different experiences for a number of reasons, but the first one, it's hard to top that. I mean, I think that it kind of goes along the same lines of like for a movie, is the sequel ever better than the original? Like it's still incredible. I mean, the recency bias, obviously, like going back to how dominant we were against the Chiefs. Yes, that was insane. So not to take anything away from it, but the first one against Brady, the underdog mentality, embraced the entire way. I got married like a couple months before. And so, it's like, in a way, like I was joking and my wife were talking about this too. It's like, oh, I got 2 rings this year, so it's kind of just like a fun aspect that way. But yeah, I will, I mean, I will always remember both for different reasons. But funnily enough, I was actually at my buddy's house who is a Patriots fan. And we used to always get together and watch Super Bowls. And then it's like, oh, both of our teams are in the Super Bowl here. So a little bit more awkward to watch a game when you're like cheering and yelling and kind of like, oh, but like his team's not doing as well, and then vice versa because the game was just nuts throughout. But yeah, I would have to go probably with the first one.
Yeah, I think so too. How did you feel when Wentz went down, but Nick Foles came in? Because I had a different feeling than what people were thinking at the time.
Yeah, I was the knee jerk reaction was like, oh my gosh, that like please no, this can't be happening, just because we've been on such a great run, the momentum and everything else. I was like, this is the last thing that we needed, like just to have an injury to derail things, change up the offensive flow, whatever you want to call it. So I was like initially super upset. It definitely lessened my expectations. I will say that. And especially seeing like Foles, he kind of struggled early on whenever he came back in. I'm like, here we go. This is just going to be one of those things. Like we made the playoffs, we got a really good record. Thankfully, the bye, but like I still just kind of went like, are we really going to do something? Obviously, the odds makers didn't believe in us either because we were underdogs the entire way. But it was like a slow belief, and it was honestly like the weird thing about it was like I had my doubts, I think, before every playoff game, except for like the Super Bowl felt like playing with house money, because like we're playing Brady. We've made it already this far to the Super Bowl. So like let's just go out there and play free. Like who knows what could happen out here. So the fact they actually did it, was insane. But yeah, there was definitely some, I wouldn't say like pessimism, but very much a lot of anxiety and nerves as soon as that happened.
So my kind of reaction to when it's going down, like, yeah, it was crap. But then I remembered like we had that 27 touchdown, 2 interception year with Foles. And I was like, okay, I could work with that. Yeah, they didn't start out great, like you said, but 2016, 2017 was like a really personally bad year for me. So I'm like, and I'm a praying person. I'm like, I need something to keep me going. So it was like at the time I was like, I'm like, they're gonna win the Super Bowl. Like the whole playoffs, I was like, there's this gut feeling like they're gonna win it all. Like I don't know
Mm-hmm.
how they're gonna do it, but they're gonna do it. And everybody, like I had two Eagles fans in the other department where I worked, and they were like, no, 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 no. And I was like, yes, they're gonna win. And everybody was talking trash. And then finally we make it to the Super Bowl, and I go to the local pizza parlor. I have my buddy there. We're playing poker, and we're I just when Brandon Graham stripped Brady, I like my mom said my jaw dropped. Like that never happens to Brady, like rarely. And to see that, it was just so I cried. I cried tears
Mm-hmm.
because it was a culmination of this bad year to go into like start the year so well.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the same thing with like 2020 with the second Super Bowl. I think you could agree. Like I I it's what started me doing this.
Mm-hmm.
Like is that Super Bowl because I was just like I suffer from panic disorder, so like a lot of the time my I was numb for like years since like 2010, and like that Super Bowl, the second Super Bowl, brought my passion back to football, and I think it was pretty big for your channel too, correct?
Mhm. Yep, yep, definitely was. That was kind of the point where I actually started it. So it was, right after, yeah, I guess right after we lost to Kansas City. So it's been, a little over 3 years now. But yeah, that was kind of the point where it's like, "Oh, give it a shot, start the channel."
Yeah, congratulations, man! Like it's a grind.
Yeah, yeah, thank you, I appreciate it. Yeah, same to you. I know it's a nonstop hustle, that's for sure.
It is. And so going back to like Eagles, so the Pickle game was your first memory. What's your favorite memory other than those two Super Bowls? Like your top 3 favorite games or something like that.
That's a good question. Hmm, I would probably say I don't think that there's anything that can top like going to the link and watching a game, like especially a high profile game. So I was fortunate enough to get to go to the NFC Championship game for the second Super Bowl winning season. So and I was able to go with my dad and brothers, and so we got decent seats there and saw the 55-23 route and all the trolling for the tush push and all the stuff that went down there. So that was probably, I would put that one up there as maybe towards the top, if not the top. The other one I would say is that again, like an in-person game. This one was actually in Dallas, just because it was closer and easier to go to. But it was during the first Super Bowl winning season, when Wentz was playing. But it was the game in Dallas, and it started out not so great. Like I was kind of like, oh boy, like here we go. Just never play good in Dallas. We're gonna lose this game. Just kind of some pessimism creeping in, and then like Jai took off and we just throttled them, right? It was like 33-13. It was some odd score, but it was like, okay, just easily win that. And I remember that AT&T Stadium just like completely it was like middle of third quarter, maybe the start of the fourth quarter, like all the Cowboys fans just taking off for the exits. And so like at least half of the fourth quarter, if not the entire thing, is just like nonstop Eagles chants, like MVPs for, Wentz and all this stuff, like just crazy things. And it's just a full takeover. So and my twin brother also came to that game. So it was a lot of fun getting to cheer that one on. So I'd say, yeah, they're probably those two games of at least seeing things in person and being some big highlights.
Yeah. Oh, dude, I think I would say my favorite game was the one where Deshaun Jackson took that post to the house because we didn't have cable at the time. I think something was wrong with our cable, so I had to listen to it on the radio.
Oh no.
And let me tell you, like listening to it on the radio is an experience. Like it's a very fun experience. But they describe everything. It was the commentating was a lot better, I think, than actual television commentating.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the emotion. Now, having said all of that, I think it's time we could go into the future. Well, what's going on right now? Last season wasn't really the greatest when it came to our offense. How are you liking Sean Mannion from what you've heard? Do you think he's a good fit for Philadelphia, or do you think they could have gotten someone better?
Yeah, I do. I'm really high on Shawn Manning. I think the change that he's going to bring, the difference that we really haven't seen. I know they've had some different flavors and whatnot, and Kellen Moore was obviously better, but just to have um, a different system that's going to challenge a defense and keep defenses kind of on their heels, just like what exactly is coming here. Now, obviously, the AJ Brown element that some people don't want to talk about, some people just kind of avoiding, whatever the case may be, but it's going to change a lot of things. You still have a ton of firepower, tons of offensive weapons. I just think that there's a possibility here, especially because you look at the defense, and the defense is insane, and they've reloaded and all the other acquisitions, Reek Woolen and what Vic Fangio's does. Thank goodness he returned. He's going to be the defensive coordinator at least for this season. But knowing the defense should be good and solid, the offense in an interesting, it'll be interesting, but it's kind of like a strange way of no one's going to know exactly what Philadelphia does because they've never done this before. And this would be the one season where, you could say, okay, Kellen Moore came in, even Steichen, when he was calling plays, like Nick Sirianni gave over play calling to them. They had the ultimate control, but it still was a similar flavor or system or whatever you want to call it from what Jalen Hurts has been accustomed to. I mean, even Kellen Moore changed things up from what he traditionally does to make it a little bit more oriented to just some familiarity to Jalen and Sirianni's system and ask and all that. But this should be, from all the reports, like a total overhaul. I mean, a new playbook, new system, leaning towards, more of attacking in the middle of the field. But Jalen's got his best route runners that he's ever had under him. So I'm super hyped about that. And I'm wanting to see him, quite honestly, kind of prove some of the doubters wrong. Like, oh no, he can't really attack the middle of the field. This is not a system that's going to work for him. He needs to get on board this train that's going by or whatever. Like all the different narratives that are knocking Jalen. I'm like, all right, you know what? Bring it on here this season. I'm excited to see it because I do think that, again, defenses aren't going to have something on film to say, oh, that's what the Eagles are going to look like this year. And it could be, one of those overnight where you're like, man, the offense is humming and we already know what to expect from the defense.
Yeah, I agree with that. I'm excited for Mannion too. I think that I'm excited for the crossing routes because I think crossing routes are huge, and when you're developing a game plan, I've noticed Jalen rarely throws it to the back to what in the middle of the field. I want to see that open up. I want to see some tight ends open up, and I think that's a part of the game that's kind of been lost, especially with a lot of quarterbacks not throwing in the middle field. I've been looking at your videos, obviously, and I was holding out hope for AJ Brown to stay, but when they drafted Mekhi Lemon, I was like, yeah, he's gone. And yeah. I'm like, I love AJ Brown too, as a player. He's one of my favorites on the Eagles, but it's the business. And for the defense, I'm excited about the Grenard move. I'm excited about Woolen. The only thing I don't want him to do is go taunt the other sideline and get a penalty and then get burned on the next play.
Yeah.
NFC Championship.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm excited for this year. Like I'm even more excited this year than I am last year because it's such a new system. With Patullo, I'm gonna be honest with you. I gave him too much benefit of the doubt. I gave him until December, and I'm like, okay, they're gonna turn it around. And I don't know if you felt the same way.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely gave him more benefit of the doubt than a lot of people. It was like after, I don't know, 2 games that or maybe even 1 game, but like certainly 2 games where I had a lot of comments of people being like, bro, you got to stop. Like he's just not the answer, and obviously that was the correct assessment. But the only thing that I was holding to is like, okay, look, he's a first time play caller. I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. I'm going to at least give him to the bye week.
Mhm.
And then we'll see, like maybe they don't figure out anything. Maybe they don't make any adjustments and we have some huge issues and concerns and they're all valid, but I'm going to at least give it until then. But it was like, once we made it to like week 5, that was where I was kind of like, this is not the answer. We've got an
I,
issue. We have a
I,
big problem here, and then it just got worse and worse and worse. And then by Black Friday, that's where I really thought something was going to happen, because it's like the Bears game and seeing the exact same thing, even after promising some changes and all of a sudden, I'm like, they have to make a move. Like it's inexcusable. There's no reason why they can't just go ahead and say, you know what, it's over. Like we have to get anybody else in here because it would be better. And then they still didn't. So yeah, it was failed from the start, but I gave him probably at least 5 weeks or so. So that was my error.
so I gave him a lot longer than you did. And I don't know. It was because I was trying to be. I'm a nice person, so I'm like I don't want to be bagging on people. They're doing a job, but yeah, I don't know if you watched that Dallas game and they started out hot.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Oh
like,
yeah.
where did this offense come from? And then the second half like disappeared, and I was like, oh my gosh, what? I don't know if they were calling, if Patullo was calling plays the first half, and then, or if he wasn't, and then he started calling plays, but I don't know. What do you think it was?
I think it was. I mean, if you go back and look, it's interesting because like even going back to like say Kellen Moore, for example, the Eagles had like I think what was it? It was like 9 or 10 games to start the year where they didn't score a single point in the first quarter, like not even a field goal, right? So with Kellen Moore, it was also kind of scratching our head like, why are they struggling so much to start like super super quickly? Like why can't we get our points on the board early and then just easily win these games? Why is it like take a long slow build up and then finally they start going? But I think that the answer to that is kind of the same answer, or kind of sheds light on Kevin Patullo's for why he struggled, because Kellen Moore is an experienced play caller, and he proved that it's like, okay, it's a slow start. Yes, it could be better, but he could always see what the defense was doing and then make adjustments in game. And then all of a sudden it's like second quarter starts like, why have we not been doing this? But it's because he saw the defensive tendencies and used that against them. The issue for Kevin Patullo that I think that became so relevant as it got later in the season was like, it's all telegraphed. Like he's got his scripted plays of 15 to 30 plays somewhere in there, but after he runs through that call sheet of plays that he already just preconceived of like, we're going to run these, he was at a loss. It's like there's not like quick reactions like, oh, hey, we're looking at the film here, okay, defense is in this alignment, let's run this. It was, well, we're out of the 30 plays we had scripted, so I don't know, let's just kind of go back to the drawing board. I think that's why we saw like 75% hitch routes all the time, because it's just the tried and true method. Like, why not run the exact same play? But some players or some coaches, because he was pass game coordinator previously, I think he was decent at that job. I don't think that he was terrible as a pass game coordinator, but some coaches are just better at like drawing up plays. And they can be creative, but just drawing up plays. But there's also a special talent and ability, as we've all seen to know, for a play caller who can take those really creative plays, if they are creative, and be able to like put them in at the right time rather than just like spamming for no good reason. And I think that's where the Eagles fell last year.
I make the analogy like some people are meant to be management and some people are meant to do their thing here, and that's okay. Everybody has a job that they have to do. And Patullo was a great passing game coordinator, like you said, but he's not an offensive coordinator. Having said all of that, who is your favorite rookie going into this season?
Oh, that's a good question. I mean, probably still Mekhi Lemon just because he's going to have such a big, probably the biggest influence out of the rookies. But I mean, that's kind of like the canned answer. I feel like for rookies, I'm really high on Eli Stowers. So like, there's a temptation to say Eli Stowers. I like in a Sean Mannion system. What as we expect anyway. But like he came from the Packers and McVay, Shanahan type flavor of offense that we're expecting to. Like the way that the tight end gets used, Eli Stowers to me, like unbelievably athletic. And we did mock drafts on the channel, multiple streams and a couple videos and everything. And every single time I was kind of like, man, I just like, yes, Kenyon Sadiq. I know that was the favorite first, but it's like, it didn't feel like it was realistic for him to be able to be picked by the Eagles. But then Eli Stowers was one of those next available. And the fact that he won the Mackey Award, the best tight end in college football, the athleticism testing is through the roof. I mean, just absolutely insane. So he does need to work on his blocking. That's very clear and evident. But I think that what he can bring to the table, I'm excited to see, because if there's some creative packages or where areas that Sean Mannion can get him on the field, I think he's going to surprise defenses where they go, wait a second. Like, this guy is a little bit different than your traditional second string tight end to be put into a role like that. So I'm excited to see him out there. I don't expect him to get, 50 catches or anything like that. But if he's get, 20, 25 catches, couple touchdowns in some crucial situations, or maybe sneaking him on the defense, I'll absolutely take that. So I am hyped for Eli Stowers.
I was actually very excited when we pulled the trigger on him. I was actually sitting next to a Steelers fan when we jumped the Cowboys for Mekhi Lemon, and I profusely apologized to him because we were having a good conversation, and then that happened. But I am really interested in Uar Bernard a little bit. I know he's like a long shot to make the roster, but like he's a freak athlete. Like, and Eagles are very much into those freak athletes in the later rounds, like your Jordan Mailatas and things like that. And yeah, they're not polished coming out of the international program or something like.
Yes, the International Player Pathway Program. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's such a good thing, and I'm like, oh, this guy, if he can if he puts in the work and he develops, he's gonna be a monster on the field.
Yeah. He's insane. Yeah, just the raw numbers and everything. I know we had Javon Gopi on for an interview last week, and he's the trainer for UR before he went into the draft. And yeah, like that's what he's saying. He's like, man, this guy, so some of the guys that come through, it's like, okay, they're talented, but he's like, this guy's just like otherworldly. Just the things that he could do. Obviously, I think everybody's seen, his testing, his measurables, things like that. But he was telling us some of the stories like behind the scenes and everything. And like Anthony DeBona, we were just like scratching our heads, just kind of like, that's just nuts, like the ability that he has. And like you say, if he can, like, he's very raw, obviously not played organized football, not a single snap and everything, but like if he can pick that up. And that's a big if, but again, as you mentioned, like Jordan Mailata, so there's a tried and true method there. There's a way to make this thing happen. If he can, who knows what this guy can turn into, because for how he can move, the strength that he has at that size, like, just saying, I agree with you. I don't think there's a better place for him to come than Philadelphia.
Howie was behind him. That's the big thing. Is if Howie's behind you, usually it's a good sign. I do have one question from someone that says, if you could bring back one former Eagles player in their prime, who would it be?
Oh, that's a good question. It's an easy answer for me right now, currently looking at the state of the roster. Brian Dawkins would be the immediate. We need a safety. So, give me Brian Dawkins, and it's, I mean, I don't want to guarantee or lock anything, but it's a lock to go to the Super Bowl. You get B-Doc on this defense. I mean, forget about it.
I was going to say the same exact thing. I think B-Doc would be huge for this team. I might go someone else though. I might go with perhaps I would like a 1-2 punch with Shady McCoy.
Ooh, yeah.
That'd be kind of
right there, but yeah,
be pretty, because you have the shiftiness, and then I think Barkley's kind of has more power than Shady does, but like I loved watching LaShawn McCoy. Either that or like a Deshaun Jackson or something like that. Put him in the slot would be nice. But you can't go wrong with B-Doc, especially with our team needs right now. We are getting close to that 7 o'clock mark. So the last thing I want to ask you is, I took this from another podcaster who does like wrestling. What are 3 things that you're thankful for?
Oh, interesting. 3 things that I'm thankful for. Well, I would say family for sure. Big family. But my wife is. I mean, where this channel is. First off, just talking about since we're on YouTube, but is all credit to her because I wouldn't have had the studio background, the graphics, everything else. She has a background in that anyway, so she kind of like trained me up and taught me. So I don't know, who knows what it would have looked like. It would have been a whole lot worse if I had been doing it. But family, we've got 2 girls, super blessed. I would say health maybe that goes along with that because we are healthy. And faith. It's a big thing for me. So I don't know. It's maybe a cliche thing, and it's kind of in a faith, family, football, health, in that category. But it's definitely the case for us. So just unbelievably blessed.
Yeah, same here. My fiance, we're getting married in November. Like the other day,
Let's
I was
go.
just like,
Congrats.
"Thank you." I was like, I've been at this a year. Like I'm just like disheartened sometimes, and then my fiance's like, "You're not giving up on this. Like you've been at this too long." And she's like, you've already accomplished so much, and you have this interview with Josh and things like that. Like if it wasn't for her, I would have given up a long time ago because it's a grind. The other thing is definitely my faith. Like without my faith, I'd be lost. um,
Hmm.
and then the last thing for me I would say is probably my job, because it allows me to get a good camera and get a good microphone and things like that. And it, because of the anxiety that I have, I can only work part-time right now. And so it allows me to pick my own schedule. I work at my local church, which is cool. So I wanted to thank
That's
you
awesome.
so much for being here, and thank you so much, everyone, for showing up. I was really nervous, so I didn't look at like any chat or anything. Big interview, but thank you so much, Josh. And don't forget, everybody, go to his channel, Philly Special. He is, I think, top of the line for birds knowledge. But thank you,
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on. This was a blast. So
thank
do
you.
it again.
Yeah, thank you.